Hey, you listening to this podcast, if you have not subscribed, please do so. I only ask for one thing, that you subscribe, rate, and review. If you are listening to iTunes, please hit that big purple button. It says subscribe. It lets you get the downloads just as I am finished with them. Instantly, I upload, you get it, you're right in the know. If you are listening via any of our other platforms, please go to our Facebook page. You can find us at Vanquisher the Podcast on Facebook. Leave us a review, like the page, follow us, leave a comment, show us some love. I really want to know how this podcast is helping you. I really want to know how you're doing since listening. It's something that I really, really appreciate. I read the reviews every single weekend. Sometimes even on weekdays, I'll take a moment, read it. It really makes me happy to know that I'm connecting with so many people. So please, please, please subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks for tuning in. This is Eve Davis Paul, and you are listening to Vanquisher. Did y'all think I forgot? I did not forget. They make me say it. Were you anticipating it? Well, you should. I am not a doctor of any kind. Please do not take anything that you hear on this show and try to substitute it for professional help. It will not work. I'm telling you. I'm not a doctor. I am not a counselor, psychologist, therapist. I'm none of that. I am a daughter of a narcissistic mom. And while I knew and while I know that it is no joke to be that does not mean it can't be funny. So let's get into the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate the love. Episode 18. Episode 18. We did do that live stream for Mother's Day. If you tuned into our live stream, I am super appreciative of you. That was our first one. And of course, as you guys know, I'm always nervous on the first go round. It's my first time. Um, so I really appreciate you listening in for Mother's Day, which was this past Sunday. Today is Wednesday, and the number date is the 16th. The month is May 2018. And episode 18 is entitled How Narcissistic Abuse Affects My Reality. That's a really, really big one for me. A lot of people are only really wanting to know, how can I stop this from affecting my life moving forward? And trust me, I'm right there with you. I get it. I understand the importance of it. And it is your right to know how to stop this shit from affecting you. It is definitely your right. So this episode should definitely help. I'm not going to keep you waiting long. I have some stories to tell you guys. So without any further ado, let's time travel. Let's go back a little bit. I used to go to a lot of NA and AA meetings as a child. For those of you that don't know what those are, they are sobriety meetings for alcoholics and drug addicts. While it was absolutely no place for a kid of any age, it did have its perks: cookies, candy, chips, um, all of the things that nice adults would give a kid. And that was because a lot of them were suffering from not being able to raise their own children due to their addiction. So many times that I was in the rooms, is what they call it. Um, I was usually the only kid in there. I don't really recall ever being in there with any other children or having any other kids that were there for me to play with. It was usually a room of about 60 to 70 adults, all African American. We're talking about like early 1990s, downtown DC, like people that were really just trying to get their lives together. It's so funny because I think about some of the scenarios, and it amazes me because I learned how to empathize at such a young age. I think about some of the things that I used to hear when people would share what they were going through and share their stories. And I know that for me, my main takeaway was that just because you stopped drinking doesn't mean that you're not a drunk. That is what I found out. So many times. It just means that alcohol has left and has not returned to your system. There is a term that they use in the rooms called dry drunk, which means that while the mouth is not still craving alcohol or using it, there are still unresolved psychological and behavioral issues that stem from the addiction itself. Now, I know y'all probably like, okay, Eve, bring it home, make your point, and I will. I've made the connection to maternal narcissism, and this is what I came out with. The abuse that maternal narcissism has dragged me through is stopping me, and this is straight plain so you guys can understand, is stopping me from fully being present for my wife. And some people would probably say, well, how? You seem like you're doing great and, your recovery's going great. And I will tell you how. From the time that my wife and I had begun dating until this Saturday past, Saturday, May 12th, 2018, I believe that I was emotionally present for her at all times about everything. Boy, was I so wrong. Now, while I was in person, always there, of course, I'm always there. While I was definitely present in person, emotionally, I was completely absent. Do you know how sometimes you just need somebody to just hold your hand, stand beside you, and go through the storm with you? Like, everything's going to be okay. I got you. Um, Whereas she was actually needing that every single time she got to a point, or the few times, because it's only been the few times, but they were big times, and times that were significant. These few times that she just needed me to hold her hand, stand next to her, sit next to her, hold her, and just say, "Hey, babe, like everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry, I got you." Just that positive reassurance that this is not going to destroy you or destroy us or anything. I was never able to do that. And she actually started bringing it up like every single time. I just need you to just tell me everything's okay. You always go into this pep talk. It's super firm. It's not really emotionally gentle. These are the things I'm telling you that I need. And you're continuing to basically go to a place that is firm and stern and, giving me this pep talk and this kick in the butt when I'm just needing you to just say, "Hey, babe, everything's going to be fine." Do you guys know how difficult it was for me to hear that? You would think that with her telling me exactly what she is needing, all I have to do is just do it, apply it, right? With narcissistic abuse, absolutely wrong. We can continue to be told something, continue to be told. Our emotional sight, what I call our emotional vision, which is what our emotions perceive or see things as, will literally be in a present situation. And since it makes us feel the same way emotionally that we felt as children, or that we feel when we are in an environment that is abusive or where maternal narcissism is being exhibited, our emotional sight will see it as exactly the same situation of that abusive environment, abusive time, abusive situation. And so that's actually how I had been handling it. Handling every single time she needed me to just be there and hold her hand and be in it with her. I'm just like, no, everything gonna be okay. Every single time you go through this, you can give me a pep talk, give yourself one. I mean, just being like, just complete opposite. Like, dude, that's not okay. So Saturday it happened again. And what I failed to realize was that while we're having a conversation, she was just telling me about how she was feeling about certain things or whatever. And I did it again. But this time, instead of her saying, "You know what, I just need you to be there," she just highlighted in the moment what happened. "I did this, you did this." And I was just like, wow, yeah, I guess I did. The biggest aha moment yet that I have had was sorry that I'm talking this way, but it's the way that it comes out. The biggest aha moment that I have had yet was that her needing me to be there in that moment, just needing some positive reaffirming, and just knowing that I'm there. Every single time she got to a place, or the few times that she's been in that space where she needs that, my emotions go back to the little girl who was living a life in parentification, having to, wipe my mother's tears, having to tell her everything was going to be okay, having to jump into action, to execute, to take care of, to figure it out for us, all of those things. Um, so while I would, tell my mom, it's going to be okay. Like, we're going to get through this. I mean, this is me as a child. While I was giving that to her, I started to actually resent it, because all the while I'm needing someone to tell me, a little girl, a teenage girl, a preteen, like all of the stages of my cycles of seven, 1 through 7, 7 through 14, and 14 through 21. I needed her in ways that I'll never be able to redo. And when I got older, I started to notice this is not supposed to be this way. I need my mother to be present for me. And while a lot of the times she was not able to, or a lot of the times that she just was not, I started to resent when she would have her meltdowns, when she would have her episodes, when she would go through situations that, I was the only person that would be in the wind to take the brunt end of it. I started to really resent having to be there. All I saw was, this is something that I have to clean up, I have to fix, I have to go into solving, I have to go into fixing mode, and it doesn't feel good. And that all of the things I needed was being dropped off by the wayside. Nobody cared, nobody came, nobody checked on me, none of those things. So, with all of these things unaddressed, here I am in a marriage, and my emotional sight is seeing the exact same thing repeat itself. Now, as a kid, I have no choice but to be in it. Because if not, there's a backlash, of course. With narcissistic personality disorders and dealing with maternal narcissism, we know that when we don't, oh my gosh, the storm is far much more greater than anything that we could possibly imagine. So what do? We conform, and we get conditioned to conforming. Now, as an adult, I know that I have a choice. So whereas I was used to fighting, now I can flight. And now in my marriage, when I'm needed in a way that is honestly really not similar, but requires the same thing from me, as an adult, because again, we're working with our adult selves, not our child self. um, I'm flighting. I'm literally choosing to flee the situation, because now, as an adult, all I know is that I have a choice not to deal with this, not to deal with this, not to be in this situation. It has nothing to do with me. I am now free of the abuse, which means that I don't have to continue to take the abuse. And that's exactly not what I'm supposed to be doing in my marriage. So, the effects of this abuse unaddressed has trickled into something that is amazing. My marriage is amazing. And we have gone through any single thing that you could possibly think of. And this time that we've been together, we've gone through it and came through it. Came through, got to it, walked through it, every single scenario you could possibly think of. Of course, except for infidelity or anything of that nature. Just things that people go through, growing together, learning one another, all of the frustrations, all of the tension buildup, we've gone through it. And we've came through it stronger and closer, and ultimately more in love. And it is such a blessing to be able to say that. But you have these things that will come up. The abuse that we endured will rear its ugly head. And now that I'm in my healing, I'll continue to get opportunities that hits on something that used to not feel so good. And now that I'm feeling better and I'm healing and I'm helping myself. Now, all that's standing in between me and a new decision is the unaddressed abuse. So, here we go. This comes up, and what do I think about? The first thing I think about was, I stopped and I said, "You know what, sweetie? Um, I believe that there is some truth to exactly what you're saying, and I know that you've been saying it for quite some time now, and I know that you've been so patient with me, and I appreciate it, and I love you so much." But I let her know that I just in this moment, we're sitting on the side of the bed side by side in our pajamas. It's early in the morning. We usually have chat Saturday morning early and Sunday morning early, before we get moving around. So it's our normal thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? You are right. And I'm so sorry that I have not been able to be present for you because of the abuse that I endured. When I say, I mean, it was almost like a bomb went off around our feet and a light bulb went off inside of my brain. And I made the connection that, okay, this knee jerk reaction that I'm continuing to have doesn't have to continue. But what I do see is that this abuse has the right to be intrusive to everything that could possibly be going great. I am so blessed and so fortunate. We're talking about a girl that never thought that she would have a family of her own, yet alone be married ever at any point. Here I am with the functioning, healthy family, married, and this thing that I am continuing to kick in the ass has actually been peeping up here and there to see if, are you better? Are you well? How are you now? How are you now? And just recently, am I really even noticing it for what it is? And to me, that is like, whoa. Because when I assess other little roadblocks, am I able to find the struggle and difficulty connected to narcissistic abuse? And I'm not being biased here, but 9 times out of 10, I am. I've recently noticed that my connection to food could possibly be tied into the abuse that I endured as well. Because when my mother wasn't there, food definitely was there. So when I'm feeling a certain way, am I reaching for something that is familiar that I know will bring me comfort? That psychological thing that we are continuing to try to feel. Am I reaching for that because it's familiar and it's soothing? And it's touching that little girl that was always afraid to be at home by herself, but always was at home by herself in a big house overnight in the morning when she got home. So food was the first thing I reached for. And it's like, okay, when I'm going through something, what's the first thing I think of? Well, my stomach full, I'll be good. I shouldn't have that connection to food. Now, that's a whole nother discussion. What I am highlighting is just as that alcoholic got clean and still was able to be a dry drunk, I feel like we can be what I have coined as the term wet survivors. So, okay, we've endured the storm. We was out in the ocean. It was pouring down. Lightning was striking. It blew over. Everything stopped. You're able to walk up onto the beach. You're perfectly fine. You get back to your house. You're good. Now you notice as days going by, you're still soaking wet. You're dripping that dirty water that you have coming off of your body. Your hair is drenched, and you're continuing to drip all of that disaster throughout everything, through your work, over your kids, over your spouse, at your job. I mean, through your family, every single place that you could possibly think of. You are dripping that disaster all up and through it. So it's like, okay, the storm is over. You didn't drown, you didn't die, you made it through, and you're continuing to drip all of the bad memories and those scary times through all of these new days and new moments and new experiences. my goodness, I'm sure you would be feeling like you're going crazy. I'm sure you would be feeling like you're searching for something that you can never find. So if you look at it this way, here's a towel. Are you going to take this towel and, dry yourself off and put on some fresh clothing? Of course, you clean yourself up. You look good. You're feeling great. You are grateful for this side of things, for actually coming through because your ass could have drowned out there. Are you going to address that? Okay, I'm really okay when I take away the effects of the abuse. And this is something that can be changed because I'm noticing people around me going through the same thing, making progress to come up out of such a very dark thing that can sometimes feel like it's choking us and destroying us. Are you going to take that towel that is soaking up all of this water and are you going to throw it away? Are you going to dispose of it? Or do you want to keep it? You have your little towel, your souvenir. It's soaking, sopping, dripping wet. It's heavy. Are you going to keep it and let it dry? Because when you let it dry, when you sit it off to the side and it dries, or whether you choose to wash it and put it in the dryer, it's going to be the same towel that soaked up something that was not a good experience for you. And with you keeping it, you are keeping the exposure of abuse being present, and you are keeping that energy always lingering one step behind you. My question is, how do you and how will you dedicate yourself to your healing? See, our trust was compromised by the only person that we should have had it come through first. That person being our mother. So it's like I don't trust myself because the first person I was supposed to trust, I wasn't able to trust her. So trusting myself is already that's been out of the door. That's been gone. So our trust is already with ourselves on shaky grounds. You know what I'm saying? So while you're noticing that, okay, I am actually able to create a new habit. When I see a scenario, when I feel a scenario with my emotional vision that seems familiar, when I hear something that I instantly notice makes me shut down and want to go into my shell, am I going to say, hey, I remember this scenario? This is what happened, or this is similar to what happened when I was younger. And how did I deal with it? Where did I go mentally? Where did I go emotionally? Am I doing that same thing now? Are you going to take the moment and just do the work in that moment? Some people just like, doing the work is hard. I just want to be happy. It takes minutes, sometimes seconds to reverse something when you are aware of it and when you are willing to say, hey, instead of shutting down, I'm going to open up. I'm going to listen a little bit more because my natural reaction is to completely close my hearing off, completely close my ears. I'm going to listen more. And in just that moment, you have changed. People have a misconception that change is hard. Change is not hard. Sometimes realizing where the change needs to happen and realizing what actually needs to happen to evoke change can be the most difficult part of change. But change itself is not hard. Change is simply doing something different, saying something different, showing something different, exhibiting something different, for lack of better words. But we have to understand that it takes just one moment to say, hey, I know what's happening here. I'm going to change this. And when I say that, that will catapult all of your change into a place of newness. And it's like, it'll be like a domino effect, change dropping on top of change, dropping on top of change. And it feels good. It doesn't cost you. It doesn't judge you. It's not abusing you. You are literally mothering and parenting yourself in a way that you could not get. And that, my friend, is invaluable. That, my sister, is something that you will never be able to pay for. Not in shoes, not in clothes, not in things, not spoiling your kids, not in family vacations, not going broke at Christmas. Those are things that is for you to continue to live, continue to be happy, continue to take care of the ones that we love. There are so many doors that we have not even walked by yet. Imagine that. Imagine the abundance of joy and the abundance of overflowing things that we have to receive that this is standing in the way of. Imagine that. To me, it was almost like a light bulb went off, like, oh shit. Oh my gosh, like it took one change. And that change on Saturday, that mental shift, and for me to just notice that I need to do something different has trickled over into four things that I've been struggling with. Saturday until now, Wednesday, I have been able to change the habit of four things that I have been stumbling over that have been kicking me in my goddamn ass every single time I'm down. Imagine that. Imagine how right now you are the only person standing in your own way. She's not even standing in our way. You want to know why? Because we are bigger than her. She has conditioned us to be able to withstand. I mean, the pressure can just be applied and applied and applied and applied, and we'll still be standing there stronger than 10,000 armies of who she thinks that she is. Now, of course, y'all know I'm never, ever, ever down talking our mothers. But what I know to be a fact is that the grandiose, artificial behavior of maternal narcissism is not built on a strong foundation, nor is it strong. Nor is it strong because it's usually operating and going crazy when things aren't going its way. It usually gets weak and it breaks down and it throws tantrums and it cries and it fights and it insults and it guilts and it shames. All of these things are not of a strong character person. Us having the patience, us having the mind power and the willpower and the continuance to put up with, to appreciate, to love, to take care of over and over and over against something that we know is so ugly, that, my dear friend, that is called strength. That is called, I don't care how many times you think that you have won, I am the ultimate winner. Time and time again, time and time again. All it takes is for us to realize it. All it takes is for you to do one thing that is of opposite in your journey that is for your healing. And I promise you, mark my word, I promise the moment that you say, hey, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to make this change. There will be so many turnarounds in your life. It will probably scare you. I know for me, it scared me. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing all of this great stuff. No way. Yes, way. Yes, way. I told y'all, I'm y'all crash dummy. There is nothing that no one can tell me about that one time you decide to make a change. Remember that no contact does not have to be forever. I use it as a tool, and I'll continue to let you know that that tool has afforded me freedom, has afforded me healthiness, has afforded me my mind and my thoughts back, has afforded me to know who I am when I look in the mirror. I used to would look for myself in the mirror. How painful is that reality? And it's like, hey, Eve, I love you. I love you, Eve. You a smooth motherfucker. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm able to give that to myself now. Something that I wasn't able to give to myself 4 or 5 months ago. And it's because I'm continuing to do something different. Don't beat yourself up because you're in it and you're continuing to do the same thing. That is a knee-jerk reaction. It does become habitual because we have been conditioned. That's like when you cut on the air conditioner, the room turns cold. When you cut it off, the room turns warm. When you cut on the air conditioner, the room turns cold. We have been conditioned to continue to do the exact same thing in the exact same manner for the exact same reason at the exact same rate over time, period. So don't beat yourself up. You're actually operating right on schedule. See, but when you don't come into the station at the time that you're scheduled to, everybody's like, well, what's going on? When you interrupt regular programming, what happens then? You are able to write your own story, write the ending of your story, change your own agenda. You're able to do things that have nothing to do with anybody else's agenda, anybody else's schedule, anybody else's intention. It is solely about you. Y'all know that I am always here. I'm always going to be here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. I mean, like, from the depths of my soul, y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea how much this podcast has helped me. And all I want is to take you along for the journey. You are loved. You are important. You are valued. You are beautiful. You are worth it. You are every single thing that you can imagine in your good mind with your healthy emotional vision. You are every single thing. You are the bomb.com and some more. I guarantee you that everything that you have ever wanted to be, you are. You already are. I wish each and every one of you a wonderful week. Think about how do you and how will you dedicate yourself to your healing. Much love. Until next time.